Saturday. I've got Robert Steffen with me, and I'm fixing to change him into a different outfit. So, because we're working on his little brother that's going to be a dragon skin baby, so we're putting him in his little dragon suit. He normally only wears this around Halloween. Of course, he sort of has been dressed in honor of it because he's wearing his little dinosaur onesie. Anyway, so today's kind of a work in progress video, and Robert Steffen and I wanted to share with you what I've been up to, and a little bit about my being a druid and how that relates to my working with reborns and a few other things. But, you know, this last few weeks has been a really difficult time for me because my mother is very ill and dying from cancer. So I got to see her last week for a little while, and it was very difficult for me. I mean, she barely seemed to comprehend that I was there. But she smiled when she saw me, and her eyes kind of lit up for a while. But it was really hard watching the light in her eyes just dying out. And so that was real difficult. And it was a little bit more difficult because even though my brother is talking to me, or she lives with my brother that wasn't talking to me for so long, and even though he let me come visit her, we didn't get much farther on healing the rift between us. So that was just a real difficult day. And I came home, and of course when I got home I was just wanting to burst into tears, and I couldn't, because I just have to stay strong. You know, while I was talking with her, it was all I could do. I did break into tears at one point when I was telling her how much I loved her. I really didn't have a lot to say to her. We haven't talked a whole lot over the last few years, and I've always been really afraid to share the things that were happening in my life with her because of things that happened when I was, you know, when I used to tell Mama when things were going on, like when I was going through a rough patch, and I would tell her, and all I would want would be for her to be praying about it. You know, she would think I was begging her for money or something, when I wasn't. Just the way my family is. All my growing up years, I was the black sheep of the family, and I was the one that got blamed for everything that went wrong, no matter if I was the person at fault or not. And that had a great deal to do with the fact that I had a real battle with self-image and self-confidence when I was growing up. In my later adult years, it took me a very long time to come to a place where I could believe in myself. There he is, all done up. Let me get his hairbrush and I'll put his hood up for you so you can see him all done up. Now, the two dolls that I'm working on this week, I'm working on two of them simultaneously because I'm trying to stay ahead of the weather. Normally I would just work on one doll at a time, but they're been this problem with the weather here lately. It's been raining all the time. It's rain constantly. So I don't have that very many days in between when it's not raining. And I don't like painting when it's raining because it takes so much longer for the paint to dry, and it tends to be sticky. And especially if you're using varnishes on the dolls, which I do use a matte varnish on them as the final coat. And here he is all done up as a little dragon. And so, anyway, I've just sort of been working at it hard and heavy, trying to get both of them done. Now, this doll is the one that I'm making for my cousin. And she has got the most beautiful face. Now, I have the base coat, a couple layers of the peach colored base coat because she's going to be very fair skinned. I have it on both dolls because the Liam doll will have an Aztec gold skin color when I'm finished, but I wanted him to have a regular fresh toned base to work off of. And also I have put a layer of modeling of a red that's kind of toned down with a little bit of white and a little bit of the peach, and then a layer of modeling with the peach on her. So this is how she's looking so far. And some of it shows a little bit darker than I want right now, but by the time I get through it, won't look this really obvious. And now, here is my Liam doll, who is going to be part of my collection. And like I said, he's got a little bit darker modeling and a little bit darker shading because I'm going to be working with an Aztec gold color for the outer layers of the skin. And it's even translucent is going to be enough that I'm going to want modeling to be just a little bit darker so it can show through. But I think the modeling actually is turning out pretty good on both of them. But, you know, I've been a druid for a good portion of my life. When I was growing up, my family, well, my mom is a Pentecostal. We went to a Baptist church when I was very young. And then when we moved to the south side of town, we went to a Pentecostal church. My dad was non-religious. he had reasons for being that way that go back to his growing up years. But he didn't go to church or anything with us. And then when I got to be an adult and I was able to choose for myself, a lot of things happened, and I just started looking at things very logically. And although I stayed in the church for a very long time, I was also studying the various religions and history of religions in the world. And I must have studied or tried out, 100 different things. And I felt like Druidism really kind of was more me. For a long time, before I was Druidic, I was practicing witchcraft, Wicca, and I just, over the years, grew a little bit more and more leaning towards Druidism, much more leaning towards nature and the planet, and being the sort of person that lived in tune with nature. And then I got involved with this group called the Missionary Order of the Celtic Cross, which was a offshoot of the Reformed Druids of North America. And I was with them for, from 2001, 2002 until this year. This year I left and broke all ties with them. I still am friends with a lot of people in the group, in the Missionary Order of the Celtic Cross, but I'm not participating in anything that they're doing. And aside from following a Druidic lifestyle and having nothing to do with anything that's remotely connected with the order. As a Druid, I would have been considered more of an ovate or a bard. I specialized as far as in Ovedic studies, herbalism, and divination. And as a bard, my talents were more towards writing stories and painting and writing lyrics, but I don't have much of a voice, and I'm not well trained enough on musical instruments to just be a musician. So I was using my talents as an artist in my bardic works, and a lot of my paintings relate to Druidism or to one of the stories that I wrote. So that's there. So that gets us to the reborn dolls. Now the reborn dolls, I started getting into reborns because it was a healing for me for the loss of my children. And Mr. Robert Stephan was my first one, and he was in honor of a child that was stillborn when he was 6 months along. And Benjamin, his little brother, was lost when he was about 3 months along. And Alana Michelle was also lost at around 6 months. So, and that was, you know, why I started was to heal the grieving I felt because of losing my children. But then I found that I really loved making the dolls, and I really loved working with exotic skin tones. So most of the dolls that I have done, I've done 2 other dolls that were dragon skin babies. One was a gold tone, and the other one was a silver blue color. Silver with a bluish cast to it. And then this one's going to be a gold tone with a rosy gold, a rose gold color. And then I did my avatar baby, Florabelle. And I'm probably going to do a few more dolls that are like elves and sprites and goblins and maybe a werewolf or something. I'm going to do the exotics. I love doing them. They're just amazing to be able to do a doll that might have been a character in one of my stories that I wrote, or that I would tell the children of the grove. So I led a grove of my own for, many, many years, about 30 years. Both before and after I joined MOCC, I was leading a grove. So, leading a group of people, and we had a marvelous time studying Druidism, studying the craft, and then afterwards playing AD&D or having a feast, or you name it, and to be able to do something nice for the children of the group. It was so important to me, especially since I couldn't have children of my own anymore. The chance of having a child of my own after I lost Alana, Michelle, and Benjamin, and Robert Stephen, they were my last 3. I was such a high-risk pregnancy. And I would get pregnant, I would lose the baby really quick. And then the last couple of times, well, I wasn't even sure I was pregnant. I thought it might have been a false pregnancy. So, yeah. But here I am blathering on about stuff. And you're probably not at all interested in Druidism. But I have one viewer that I know is interested in Druidism, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about, how it related to being a reborner. To me, it's just an expression of my artistic talent and how I related to Druidism as a bard was through my artistic talent. So it's kind of an offshoot of that, an extension of that. But anyway, it's like 85 degrees and very, very humid and getting ready to rain again. So I'm going to get off of here, and my email, my mailing address, my Patron page are all in the description below. If you liked what you saw, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below so I know you came by. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Bye-bye.